be upon you, viewers and dear students. In this video, we talk about Chapter 3, Lesson 2 for the Grade 12 Scientific. In our lesson for today, we will discuss the basic rules for the derivative. We try as much as possible to simplify them, and we try to give different examples and every kind of example which help you to understand the rules correctly and easily. Let us start the lesson. I am Tawfiq Omar, math teacher. Differentiation rules. Function f of x equals c. That means if we have a constant function, then the derivative of this function is 0, which means f prime of x is 0. Derivative of the constant function is 0. If we have f of x equal 5, f of x equal 1 over 2, f of x equals square root of 5, all of them are a constant function. Therefore, their derivative f prime of x is equal to 0. F of x is equal cx. That means if we have a number or a constant multiplied by an x without power, therefore the derivative f prime of x is equal c. For example, f of x equal x, because we have 1 here, therefore f prime of x is 1. F of x is equal 5x. Here we have 5 times x, therefore f prime of x is 5. F of x is equal x over 2. Here, if you see that a function denominator is a constant, take only the derivative of the numerator. That means the derivative of x is 1. Therefore, f prime of x is 1 over 2. Fx equals square root of 5 times x. Because you have square root of 5, therefore f prime of x is square root of 5. F of x is equal c x to the power n, which means if we have a constant multiplied by x with the power n. To find the derivative of this function, multiply the power n with c and subtract with n 1, which means f prime of x is equal n times c is nc x n minus 1, where c is a constant. Now a number times a power, then x the power minus 1. For example, f of x is equal 5x squared. F prime of x is equal 5 times 2 times x, because 2 minus 1 is x. 5 times 2 is 10. X, 2 minus 1 is 1. That means x to the power 1. F of x is equal x to the power 4 over 2, because you have a constant at a denominator, therefore take only the derivative of the numerator. Then f prime of x is equal the derivative of x to the power 4, write 4, then x, 4 minus 1 is 3. That means 4x to the power 3. Cancelling 2 with 4, it becomes 2, therefore remain 2x cubed. F of x is equal square root of 5 x to the power 3, or x cubed. And now 3 times square root of 5 is 3 square root of 5. 3 minus 1 is 2, then x to the power 2, that means x squared. F prime of x is equal square root of 5 times 3 minus 1 to the x square. 3 times square root of 5 is 3 square root 5x square. F of x is equal 5x to the power 2 over 3. F prime of x, write f5, then take the derivative of x to the power 2 over 3, or write 2 over 3, then x to the power 2 over 3 minus 1. 5 times 2 is 10 over 3, x to the power. Here 2 over 3 minus 1 is equal, to find this one, the denominator of 1 is 1, multiply 3 times 1, which equals 3. After that, the numerator minus denominator. Numerator minus denominator. 2 minus 3 is minus 1. Because we have a negative power, we must make it positive. Therefore, take x to the power minus 1 over 3 to the denominator. Then it becomes the positive and change it to the square root. Then it becomes 10 over 3 cube root x. F of x equal square root of gx. That means if you have a function under the square root, to take the derivative of this function, take a derivative of under square root over 2 times the square root itself, which means f prime of x is equal derivative of gx is g prime of x 2 times square root of gx. Example, f of x is equal square root of x. That means f prime of x is equal. The derivative of x is 1. Then write 2 square root of x. F of x is equal to square root of x. F prime of x is equal, write 2 and then take a derivative of square root of x, which we take it in the first example is 1 over 2 square root of x. And now cancelling 2 with 2, remain 1 over x. Remain 1 over x. F of x is equal square root of 5x. We have two ways to find the derivative of this function. First one, we can supply the square root, writing is square root of 5 times square root of x. And now, as you see in the second derivative, to find f prime of x, first of all, write square root of 5, then take the derivative of square root of x, which is 1 over 2 square root of x. And now, square root of 5 times 1 is square root of 5 over 2 square root of x. The second way, we can use this definition, f prime of x is equal to, write a line, derivative of under the square root. Under square root you have 5x, the derivative of it is 5. Then write 2 square root of 5x. As you can see, you have a different answer, but they are same. To make it same, you can do that. Write 5 as a square root of 5 times square root of 5 over 2, and square root of 5x, write it square root of 5 times square root of x. And now cancel square root of 5 with square root of 5, it becomes the same thing as here. You can solve this example in another way. Make f of x, change it from square root to the power. It becomes x to the power 1 over 2. Then take the derivative of x to the power 1 over 2, which become f prime of x is equal, write the first of all power, then x to the power minus 1, which equal 1 over 2. The 1 over 2 minus 1 is minus 1 over 2. That means half minus 1 is minus half. Because we have a negative power, we must take it to the denominator. It becomes 1 over 2 square root of x. That's the same answer as the first example. F of x is equal the root of n for x to the power m. The f prime of x is equal m over n, the root of n for x, n minus m, if m is smaller than n or less than then. F prime of x is equal m over n, the root of n for x, m minus n, if m is bigger than n. Example, f of x is equal the cube root for x squared. As you can see here, m is 2 and n is 3. Therefore, m is less than n. That means we use the first rule. Here is f prime of x is equal. First of all, write m, which is 2, over n, which is 3. Then the cube root, because n is 3, then x to the n 3 minus 2, which equal 2 over 3. The cube root 3 minus 2 is 1, the cube root of x. F of x is equal the cube root of x to the power 5. As you can see here, that m is 5 and n is 3. Therefore, the f prime of x is equal. First of all, write m over n, 5 over 3, the cube root, the root of n, the cube root, then 5 minus 3, then 5 minus 3, m minus n, which equal 5 over 3, the cube root for x squared. F of x is equal 1 over the root of n x to the power m. The f prime of x is equal minus m over n, the root of n x to the power m plus n. Example, f of x is equal 1 over cube root for x to the power 5. As you can see here that m is 5 and n is 3. Therefore, f prime of x is equal minus m 5 over n 3, the root of n, which is 3, over x3 plus 5, which equal minus 5 over 3 cube root for x to the power 8. And now to simplify this one, divide 8 by 3, 8 divide 3, 8 divide 3 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, 8 minus 6 is 2. Here, this 2 the result of divide is the power of x outside the root, which means x square. Then write the square root of cube, and now x to the remaining is the power of x under the root, which become x square cube root for x square. X square cube root for x square. Another example, f of x is equal 1 over the fifth root for x cube. As you can see here, m is equal 3 and n is equal 5. Therefore, f prime of x is equal minus m, which is 3, over n, which is 5, the fifth root for x to the power 3 plus 5. F prime of x is equal minus 3 over 5, fifth root for x to the power 8. To simplify this one, divide 8 by 5. 8 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. Therefore, this one is become x to the power 1, the fifth root, x to the power 3. 3 over 5, x, the fifth root for x to the power 3. But I see that is easier to simplify. After that, find the derivative. You first simplify the function and then take a derivative. For example, f of x is equal 1 over square root of x is equal 1 over square root of x, changing to the x to the power 1 over 2, which taking from denominator to the numerator become x to the power minus 1 over 2. F prime of x is equal, first of all, write the power, which is minus 1 over 2, x to the power minus 1 over 2 minus 1. Then f prime of x is equal minus 1 over 2 x2 minus 3 over 2. Then f prime of x is equal minus 1 over 2x to the power 3 over 2. Because you have a negative power, take it to the denominator, become positive. Write this part as a root, it become minus 1 over 2x square root of x. And this one, you can write it as x to the power minus 2 over 3, and f prime of x is minus 2 over 3 times x to the power minus 2 over 3 minus 1. Then it equal minus 2 over 3 x to the power minus 5 over 3. Because you have a negative power, then take it to the denominator and change it to the root. It's become 2 over 3, the cube root for x square. If we have a function f of x is equal a over c x to the power n. And now to find the derivative of this function, f prime of x is equal, first of all, write minus, then write the number at the numerator a, then multiplied it by the power of x over the number which is at the denominator, and then x to the power n plus 1. Here, if you want to find the derivative of fx equal 5 over 2 x to the power, you can do that. F prime of x is equal. First of all, write minus. Then write the number at the numerator, 5. Then time the power, which is 3. Then write the number at the denominator, which is 2. Then write x and add 1 to the power, 3 plus 1, which equal minus 15 over 2x to the power 4. Another example, f of x is equal 5 over 2x all to the power 3. First of all, supply the denominator. It becomes 5 over 2 to the power 3 x to the power 3. And now f prime of x is equal, write minus, then the numerator 5, then the power of x, which is 3, over, you have 2 to the power 3, which is 8, then write x to the 3 plus 1, which become minus 15 over 8x to the power 4. You have two ways to solve this example. The first one, take this rule, f prime of x is equal, write minus, then the numerator, then the power of x, which is minus 2, and then write the number at denominator, then x to the power plus 1, which equal minus 7 times minus 2 is 40, then 3x minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. Because you have a negative power, you must make it a positive, then take it from denominator to the numerator. It becomes 40 over 3x. You can do this one in another way. Maybe that's an easier, which you can say that this one is equal 7 over 3. And because you have a negative power, you must make it a positive. Then from denominator, take it to the numerator. It becomes x to the power 2. And then take the derivative f prime of x is equal 2 times 7, 40 over 3. Take a number from the power, 2 minus 1 is 1. As you can see, is the same answer. If you have f of x is equal 4 over x square root of x, here you must simplify this, the denominator, which become 4 over x times x to the power 1 over 2. It equal 4 over x, 1 plus 1 over 2, 1 half, it's 3 over 2. Then take it a derivative, f prime of x. First of all, write minus, then the number at the numerator, then the power times power 3 over 2, then add to the power 1, which become cancelling 2 with 4, it remain 2, and minus 2 times 3 is minus 6, and then 3 over 2 plus 1 is 5 over 2. You can write this one as a root. It become square root times x squared by dividing 5 by over 6 over 2, 5 divided by 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 5 minus 4 is 1. This is the power of x outside the root, and this was the power of x inside the root. That means x squared square root of x. If you have f of x is equal sine x, then f prime of x is cosine x. F of x is equal cosine x, then f prime of x is minus sine x. F of x is tangent x. It has two rules. The first one, f prime of x is equal 1 plus tangent square x. And the second one, f prime of x equal 1 over cosine square x. But every time you must multiply this derivative by the derivative of angle. Here, the derivative of angle is 1. Then 1 times 1 cosine x is cosine x. Therefore, we haven't write it. Do not forget to multiply the derivative of the angle. The angle remains the same. F of x is equal sine 3x. First of all, you have angle is 3x. Take the derivative of this angle. The derivative of 3x is 3. And now f prime of x is equal. First of all, write the derivative of angle, which is 3, times derivative of sine, which is cosine 3x. The second one, f of x is equal sine of x squared over 3. You have an angle is here, x squared over 3. The derivative of this is 2x over 3. And now, f prime of x is equal, first of all, write 2x over 3. This is the derivative of the angle. Then the derivative of sine is cosine. Write the angle without changing. 3. F of x is cosine pi x. You have angle here is pi x, derivative of it is pi. Then f prime of x is right pi. Then derivative of cosine is minus sine pi x. Number 4, f of x is equal cosine x cubed plus 2. You have angle is x cubed plus 2. The derivative of it is 3x squared. And now f prime of x is equal. Write the derivative 3x squared. Cosine, it's become minus sine. Write the angle x cubed plus 2. Fifth, f of x is equal tan pi x over 2. The angle here is pi x over 2. The derivative of it is pi over 2. And now f prime of x is equal write pi over 2. Then the derivative of tangent is 1 plus tangent square. Write the angle without changing, pi x over 2. Or you have another way, f of x is equal, first of all, write pi over 2 at a numerator, then write cosine square of pi x over 2. If we have f of x is equal e to the power gx, f prime of x is equal g prime x e to the power gx, which means only you take the derivative of the power and multiplying by the function. That means f of x is equal e to the power x, then f prime of x is equal the derivative of a power times e to the power x. For example, f of x is equal e to the power x. Because the derivative of x is 1, therefore f prime of x is 1 e to the power x, which equal e to the power x. F of x equal e to the power 2x. The derivative of 2x is 2, therefore f prime of x is 2 times e to the power 2x. Fx is equal e to the power x squared. The derivative of x squared is 2x, therefore f prime of x is equal the derivative 2x e to the power x squared. F of x is equal e to the power sine x. The derivative of sine x is cosine x. Therefore, f prime of x is equal cosine x e to the power sine x. Fx is equal ln of gx. Ln of gx. That means if you have ln of a function, then f prime of x is equal the derivative of the function over the function. That means if you have a ln of a function, then f prime of x is equal the derivative of function over a function. Ln f of x is equal ln x. F prime of x is equal. First of all, find derivative of the function, and function here is x. Derivative of x is 1. Then write the function which is x at a numerator which become 1 over x. F of x is equal ln of 2x. F prime of x is equal. The derivative of 2x is 2 over the function which is 2x. And now cancel 2 with 2. Then it becomes 1 over x. F of x is equal ln of x squared. The derivative of x squared is 2x, and write x squared at a denominator. Cancelling x with the x, it remains 2 over x. F of x is equal ln of sine x. F prime of x is equal. The derivative of sine is cosine over sine. F of x is equal ln of square root of x. As you can see, g of x is square root of x, and g prime of x is equal 1 over 2 square root of x. Then the derivative of f of x is equal f prime of x equal. First of all, write the derivative at a numerator, then write the function at a denominator. Simplifying, write the numerator 1 over 2 square root of x time inverse square root of x is 1 over square root x, and multiplying them is become 1 times 1 is 1, 2 square root times square root is x. We can solve this example in another way, maybe is easier, by changing square root of x to the power, which become ln of x to the power 1 over 2. Take 1 over 2 to the front of the ln, which become 1 over 2 ln x. And now take a derivative. F prime of x, write 1 over 2 because it is constant, time ln of x derivative is 1 over x. Then numerator 1 times 1 is 1 and 2 times x is 2x. As you can see, is the same answer. If we have a and n and m are constants, therefore f of x is equal ln of ax. The derivative is f of x is equal 1 of x. For example, f of x is equal ln of 5x is equal 1 over x. Ln of 6x is equal 1 of x. F of x is equal ln of x to the power n. Then f prime of x is n over x. For example, f of x is equal ln of x cubed, which equal f prime of x equal 3 over x. F of x is equal ln of the root of n x to the power m is equal f of a prime x is equal m over nx, m over nx. For example, f of x is equal ln of the fifth root for x cubed, it become 3 over 5x. Here we reached of the end of the function. Please subscribe the page and share it with your friends so everyone will benefit and get each new video. Write your comment if you have any question and please like. Thank you for watching and goodbye.